Okay. I've decided I want to make the skulls in the front of the boat glow. Just add a little more glow in from the front. So I'm going to snag my magenta. I'm just going to put some in the eyes after I get brush tip with painting with. One side. It's a shame they're not looking right at something. I can't really make a glow on them. But I can make the eyes themselves glow. So I'll start with the magenta. It's going to take a little while to dry. Meanwhile, I'll start prepping the base for the base runes. So just black, kind of go around the whole base with that. Cover up any of the paint that got on. Give myself a nice even start for the rest. Looks like I might take a couple coats to cover everything up completely. I think I thinned my black in the bottle quite a bit. Kind of go around the whole thing. Be careful not to get it on the actual basing material that I painted. Just give it a nice clean break. I'm always amazed by how much just blacking out the rim just makes it look more final and complete. Adjust my grip.
Next help.
by the time I get to the front, it's dried. So I just need to get kind of a second coat on top of where that brighter spot was. That's gonna need to dry just so I can put a little more black on there. Meanwhile, I can go back to the skulls. Get my first darker pink in their eye sockets. Should be a little more central about it. Side. All right, so let that dry. Move back to the black. That's really pretty much it. Everything else is fairly well painted. Just gonna get those eyes on there, but I got all the windows done last night. Rear window and everything. I was considering having light coming down from these, but I don't want to distract from the windows. Same with the big guy's eyes, don't want to hit that in there. And then I touched up the metal on the windows to make it stand out. Honestly, I should probably just see if I can put just a hint of black over those metal bars. As long as I'm waiting for everything else to dry, I'll just do a little bit of that. See if I can do this carefully. Using a very small brush. I just want to darken it up a bit. And my black is so thin, not sure if that's completely worth it. I'll just hit a couple spots, I think, that are brighter, just to bring them down. Like here. Here. Just knock a little bit of that metal light glint down, so it doesn't compete so bad with the glows.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? No. No, I can't. No. I can't do it. It's not working.
Okay,
Hello?
that's probably good there. So the black front is dried.
Can you hear me? See the red button. Press it down and then speak. moving.
Alright, I'm gonna switch to my other brush for a little more fine point and less body to try to get into the skulls, eye sockets. Get some of my pink. Kids playing with new walkie-talkies that my son got for his birthday.
There we go.
Go to the best.
Pink in there. This side.
And close the door.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, babe? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, babe?
I just freehand stencils that go on the front.
Can you hear me?
And yeah, I'm gonna paint that next. That's the next thing I want to get done. As soon as this black on the front finishes drying. At one point, I think the black became kind of a sludge in the bottle,
Dad, can you hear me?
and I added water to it, and I might have added just a bit too
Can
much.
you hear me,
Because
babe?
now it's really thin as it comes out,
Can you hear me?
thinner than I prefer.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You cannot both be talking at the same time.
Maybe this one doesn't have batteries.
All right,
Let's start putting in batteries.
let that one go. Meanwhile, I can put the dots of white on the inside of the skulls.
Mine launcher.
All right. Just a dot. Center of my pink. That's a bit too much. Try to pull some of that out. Yeah, see, now I got too much white in there, so just take a bigger brush, see if I can draw that out.
So,
Get back to just the pink. Come back to that side after it's had a little time to dry from the water I put in there to get out the white dot.
Mommy, go there.
Alright, so now that's glowing. This side should be dry. A bit of white in there. I'm gonna get my newer black
Can you hear me?
and use that on the front of this, I think.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
The outside.
Can you hear me?
Buddy, can you go up in your room or in the
Can you
bathroom?
hear me?
Tyler, go in the bathroom. Or go in your bedroom.
Get a newer thing of black for the front because that one's just too thin.
Can you hear me?
That should cover a lot better. Dry quicker too, because it won't be quite so thin. I just want a nice black base to put the runes on. It's all looking pretty good though. Alright, won't take too long to dry. Meanwhile, I'll just look it over and make sure I'm not missing anything else. But I think I got pretty much everything I want to get. So Tixis are done. Scar's all done.
What was that?
Stuff is being spilled.
Accidentally spilled it.
You cleaning it up?
And
What did you spill?
Cannons,
pop tabs. The pop tabs.
souls on the inside. Cannons have glow on the back of them, which you'll probably never ever ever see. Unless you take a flashlight and look at it up from that angle, but that's the danger, I guess, of painting things separate. You never know what you're going to paint that isn't covered at all. Alright, so I can start on this side. So personally, I mark the back and then I mark the entire front arc. The way that I do that, so like all my other glows, I start with the darkest and then move to the light center. You want it to be not super thin. It's already probably going to take about 3 layers on this magenta. So I don't have a mark for the center, and the center is less important than the front. So I don't have to make this perfect or anything. The front has the molded pieces. But for now, I'm just going to add a mark here. And I just put that usually on there, so I just have a reference for where the center of the back of the base is. Just have it for most models. This one's pretty obvious because I got a big old window marking the middle too, but side. We got this molded piece here. It should be a little larger than it because I want the glow to be on either side of it, given how big of a area I hit. And then I just start, let's get the focus. Come on, camera. There it goes. And then I just start doodling, really. Go upstairs. Yeah, I don't know what's with the camera right now. It's like focusing on my hand and not the model. So it's going to take a couple layers to get that to be a nice solid magenta, but that's what you want. If you just put it on thick enough that it just is magenta in one layer, it'll have a defined line between the magenta and the back. If you use a couple of layers, then you're not going to hit absolutely everywhere that you painted the last time. You'll have a bit of a break and have a softer, kind of fuzzier edge, which is really what you want for glows. You want it so thin that you have to do like 10 layers, but having to do it in a few is fine. I'll skip ahead to this middle one. I cannot get this thing to focus right. Come on, camera.
Did you fix it, Mom? I wish I could have seen it. Meg,
Tyler, please stand by the way.
it's broken.
It's broken.
Yes. I mean, where is it? Hello? Oh. I just turned it on.
Right, it was working.
Hello? Oh, that does it. Do it. Hello?
Yeah.
You have
Okay,
to,
now you stop holding.
you have to press.
Hello?
No, you have to press down on that button and speak.
Hello? Yeah, it only works one way.
And I'll often jump ahead to the center and the
It
sides.
only works one way.
On the smaller bases, I'll actually just do them first because you don't want to run out of room
Oh,
by the time you get to the side. So I kind of like doing these ahead.
Correct.
so one's for
So I
talking.
have
So one's for talking and
to
one's
figure out where to jump on its back.
I know where to jump on its back, Mom. I know where to. See it?
It's a little thick. Just thin it a touch.
No, I have to wait again.
But don't die.
I'm glad I got it, buddy. Tyler, go wash your hands, please.
So here, my first layer, I'm actually trying to paint these strokes on nice and thick so that I have area where I can focus more on the middle for the lighter colors.
Put that away.
Can I make this the fun times? Mommy, look at it.
Come here, Tyler. 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 What did I do? Wash your hands right now upstairs.
Mommy, it's coming.
I don't know where it's gonna go upstairs.
I want to see you do
At
this.
least it stopped snowing.
Here or outside?
Outside. It in game would be lovely, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Mommy, go. No. No. Yeah, we know.
Now is not the time to bump your head into my controller, dude. No midnight.
Alright, so that's like my base coat all the way around. And then we can start the second.
Try.
After the initial coats of magenta, the rest will go down a lot easier because they have a lighter base to be on.
A skill point. Whoa. Can't see.
So you can see how dark they dried. And that's just because I'm using it pretty thin so that I don't have a very, very super defined edge.
Tyler,
What?
could you please clean up the windows?
Yes.
Those are the ones I did first. Coming back this way. So now I'll jump over here.
Oh.
Clean, blue, clean.
People often ask how I do these. As you can see here, it's time consuming. It takes a few coats of the magenta, and then you can start on the other color. probably getting back over to the beginning where it's already dried for this. It's gonna be my third coat. Get the back.
And
Start on my third coat on the rest here. Hoping 3 is enough. Sometimes it takes 4 or 5 depending on just how thin I've been.
Can you? Or were you guys arguing?
But it's starting to look more vibrant and bright of a magenta as I put it on. It'll dry thinner, but that signals me that it's starting to
Put away the other pebbles.
be enough coats.
Those Legos away in your Lego bin.
need to put there. You. Right there. Then Legos, please.
Ow.
Just touched over here with my finger. Touch that back up. Be more careful. Don't get that on the rest of the boat. Okay. That's probably good for a base. So now I'll move up to the next color, which is my dark pink or light magenta. You've seen the previous videos. It's about 3 parts magenta to 2 parts white to kind of make it a pink. And lighten up the magenta. That looks like it's still a little wet, so I'm going to skip that one for the moment. That one has, they're all this bit. giving some magenta around the outside. A little more water, it's too little thick. Just a little bit on either side of the raised area on 120 millimeter huge bases, indicating the front. Dividing fields of fire. Work my way around.
Can you give me this stuff to do it? Then I get to do it.
Hey, that's his toy. Pink. faster.
No, we have to start it over. We have to make it until we can.
And the back one.
Until we can't make this.
All right.
No,
Now I'm gonna switch to
this is one because this is
a smaller brush. Get my lightest pink, which is probably about 3 drops of whites, just a drop or less of magenta.
It's a corrupted fire bellow.
And then just trace the middle. And then the raised area on this. It's not very light. I'm gonna actually add some more white to that color. Just a little extra pure white. Just another drop or so. Lighten that color up a little more. There we go. So I'll give you a look at my palette here. Pick up the camera. I've got magenta, a little bit of white, white with just a barest touch of pink, or magenta rather, and then pure white. And I'll use my 3.0, or actually this is a 6.0, teeny tiny brush. Just trace in the middle. This brush is tiny, so you have to reload it fairly often. I'm trying to get as small of a stroke as I can. While still making it visible. This will be the final color for most of the rooms. I only use the pure white on the cardinal point directions to kind of emphasize them. I know the camera isn't doing a great job right now picking all this up, but there's not much more I can do. Get some of the white. We'll just put some of the pure white on the cardinals. It's real easy because they're raised on Battle Engine bases. And the back. Just try to get right down the middle. The white. That's pretty much that. At this point, it's done. No more paint needs to go on unless I spot something that chipped or broke. I think I maybe rubbed off a little bit on the thing there, so I'm just gonna take black, watery black even, and mix. I have some on the palette already, and I'll just mix a little bit of this amber gold in. Kind of mix up the off warm black tone. And then I'll just touch up those couple of spots where it looks like I may have rubbed off paint while I was painting. There's probably better ways to hold this than with my hand. The resin holds the paint really well. I'm not too worried about it rubbing off there. But as much as I was holding by these things, I'm not surprised that there's a little bit that came off. It's either that or the spatter from the silver metallic paint. Got a little bit up there. But now that that's done, all I have to do at this point is a varnish. I'll just get that started and then I'm going to stop recording because no one wants to see me take a brush and go over this entire boat with brush on varnish. So it's a brand new bottle. I just ran out of the other one. Kind of show people who aren't used to this kind of a varnish. It's polyurethane matte varnish. Matte varnish is basically gloss varnish with particulate in it. And this particular brand I love, but it does settle. So it's probably hard to see in this light. Kind of see it. There's a bunch of the particulate that's settled on the bottom here. I've shaken this thing like crazy and it's not coming up, but I've had that happen to me before. That's why I have a big old wooden stick. I think this is probably a chopstick from Chinese takeout. I'm just gonna stir it up. Scrape that particulate back in. It's like a sludge. Once I can get that going, without that particulate being dispersed throughout this stuff, it's going to give it too shiny of a sheen. And we certainly don't want that. So right now I'm just breaking it up on the inside of the bottle here. And then I find after you let it sit for a few days, it'll settle, but it won't be quite so solid of a mass, and shaking and rotating it is enough to break it up. You can see how thick this stuff is, this particulate. But I love using this stuff because I don't have any issues with it frosting over. I don't have to worry about the humidity. I don't mind using a spray primer because spray primers are not, they're gonna get covered up. I mean, the worst you can do is if it's a little thick when it goes on, you have to re-strip it right away. But even then, I find I don't even have an issue with that, even if it's humid out. But I've had too many minis frost on me after spending hours and hours and hours of painting. So I decided to move over to brush on varnish and never regretted it after that point. It's starting to mix in now. Like I said, after using this for this bottle, as long as it doesn't sit for another year or however long this one sat, that stuff won't collect quite so bad. It'll collect and it'll all be on the bottom or the side if it's on its side, but then a little bit of shaking is enough to shake it loose. I don't have to take a stick and stir it. I'm gonna wipe that off the stick. Set that out there to dry. Now I'll put the cap back on. Give it a little bit of a tumble. Shaking it does cause bubbles, and bubbles are bad in varnish. You're better off just kind of rotating it like this if you can. It'll come out a little milky white. And the other thing you need to watch out for is when you put your first layer on, especially if it's a layer I just painted, like I just painted that black on that room today, it'll pick it up and tint the varnish black and start going over the rest of your stuff if you really scrub. So the first layer especially, you just want to kind of lay it on with one swipe. You don't want to sit there and brush back and forth or it's going to pull it up. And I don't use my Kolinsky Sable brushes for this. I have an old nylon brush. So bubbles up. That's why I'm wiping it off. And I'll just get this going and then I'm going to stop recording. But you can kind of see now if I sit there and I scrub, you can even see now it's starting to even pull the black up a little bit. So you have to be real careful with the first layer. Once the first layer is on and dry, then it's not going anywhere. At that point, it's already acting like a protecting coat. So you don't have to worry about it pulling up anymore. But if you sit there and pull it, and all of a sudden you go over your rune and all of a sudden it starts streaking black over it, that kind of sucks. You can go a little thick with this. It doesn't have to be super, super thin. It will obscure a bit on the paint color and the details, but to me it just kind of adds like an extra blend even. And if you have that particulate mixed in well, then this is going to be very matte, which is the other reason I like this product. Alright, so now I'm getting all the way around my base, and at that point I'm probably going to leave you. Like I said, no one's going to want to see me watch here wiping this stuff on all over. So I will let you go. I put on 3 coats of this, letting it dry at least 1 day between each coat. So I'll probably next see you in about 3 or 4 days when I can start doing the rest of the base. And all I'm going to do then is probably put like a reed coming up on each side, kind of give it that swamp look, and then I can start adding the water effects, and then I'll be completely done. So thank you very much. See you later.